What's up everyone? This is the story of Ben, a dairy farmer turned entrepreneur who's now generating more than $30,000 in monthly recurring revenue without writing a single line of code, leveraging these powerful no-code tools. So I'm here to tell you his story and to give you no-code tips along the way. Welcome back to Startup Studio, everyone. My name is Christian Peverelli, and I'm the co-founder of WeAreNoCode. We teach non-technical entrepreneurs how to launch their business ideas leveraging no-code technologies. And if you haven't already, like and subscribe to this channel. It warms my heart every time I see it going up, and it gives you free tips and tricks to build your startup. Okay, so Ben Krueger grew up in a small town in Ohio and did all types of manual work, including being a dairy farmer. And as you can imagine, a lot of those jobs were very labor intensive and really kept him stuck in that one small location in Ohio. But one day he discovered a podcast that was talking about location independent businesses. And it was really appealing to him that he might be able to one day build a business that would not require him to go through so much manual labor, and that would also allow him to not be located in the same spot. Now, funny enough, one day that podcast company opened up a position for an intern. He was interviewed and landed the internship in the Philippines. And so Ben packed up his bags and went from Ohio to the Philippines to start this new position. Now, as you can imagine, he started supporting them in their endeavors in the Philippines, but he learned a lot about podcasting. And as he got to know more and more, Dan Andrews, who was the host of the show, started expressing how difficult it was to run a podcast, produce it, run it, edit it, and all these different factors. But more importantly, he was complaining about the fact that it was taking a lot of time from his high-skilled workers. And so for him, it was a pain point. And of course, where there is a pain point, there is a startup opportunity. And this was the point at which Ben pitched an idea to Dan. He made him an offer essentially to be able to take over the production, editing, coordination of the podcast to free up some of Dan's team members' time. And guess what? This sounded amazing to Dan, who didn't want to have to take care of these tasks himself. And even better, Dan told Ben exactly what he expected, so a very clear scope of work was already set from the get-go. So at this point, Ben literally only had to figure out how he was going to run it, and then also how he was going to price it. And so in the end, Dan and the podcast ended up becoming Ben's first customer. And because he was doing such a good job at what he did, he got referral after referral of other people with this exact same pain point on the production of their podcast. And that's when freelancing pretty much became an agency for podcast hosts. And of course, at this point, you might be asking, well, how did he actually manage to do that easier? The answer is no-code tools. So in this specific case, Ben had several out-of-the-box tools and was using a lot of a really popular no-code tool called Zapier to be able to send information from one place to the other and make some of the process from production all the way to editing and releasing much simpler and streamlined, which then allowed him to take on more and more customers. So let's talk about a specific example of how he was using these tools. For the sales side of the business, for example, he built a basic form that would intake information from potential future customers and then connected it to Calendly, which is another no-code tool. Now in Calendly, he asked specific questions, and as soon as they filled out the information, he had Zapier send that information to his CRM, and the sales transcript was also automatically already there. And so this process made it very easy from someone filling it out all the way to closing a sale. And he could even distribute those leads to other people if he wanted to. A second thing that he used no-code for was to nurture certain leads. So he would essentially use Zapier, and that would connect to Infusionsoft that would send out emails. So as soon as something triggered, so we knew that someone might be interested in a specific thing, he would have Zapier transfer the information into Infusionsoft that would send out drip emails to those individuals. And in those emails, he would send additional information, case studies, success stories to be able to convince those people that it was possible. And so by the time people get on call with him, they are already pretty much ready to buy. Okay, Christian, you're talking about how he's onboarding customers and using Zapier and all that, but let's talk about how he really smoothed out that process of servicing his customers, right? Because if this was a frustrating process, he would have to create a system that would allow him to make that smoother. And to create this management process, he leveraged ClickUp, which is a management tool, and Slack, which is a communications tool, combined them and made it very easy for Once someone had finished the production, they'd be able to let people know through Slack, and this would notify the editor that it was now his turn to act, all the way until validation from the end customer and then releasing the episode on all the podcasting platforms. So he was able to scale up to several customers leveraging that formula. But then a customer came up with different needs. And this was when he met Andrew Udarian. Unlike some of the other customers, Andrew had not yet launched his podcast. So really the services that he was gonna require were not just on the production, but they were really on everything from strategy to launch, preparation, etc., etc. And that's when Ben was very smart because he used the same strategy. He essentially, step by step, figured out exactly what would have to take place, an 8-week system to be able to launch a podcast, and he productized it to be able to service that to more people who want to launch their own startups. So he fine-tuned his process and delivered it to more customers. His company is called Cashflow Podcasting, and it's now generating more than $30,000 a month in recurring revenue. Before we go on with the story, please like and subscribe this channel. It helps it so much to grow and to reach more people like yourself. And when Ben was asked about what he thought of no-code tools and how it would affect entrepreneurship, this is what he said. Entrepreneurs can start very cheaply, they can start very simply, and they can have no-code tools doing all of the things that before they would spend 90% of their time doing. He also mentioned that this was essential for small businesses to start using because let's face it, there's a lot of competition out there and there's a need to continually get better and better at what we do as small, medium businesses. So I think the moral of this story is find a problem to solve if you're looking to build a business. If you can find a first customer, then do it. You will learn so much about the process from end to end. It will determine how you can productize your business exactly the same way that Ben did it. At first, he was doing things manually, and then he realized I need to automate things. I'm the only person in this business at the moment, or I want to save myself time. And that's when you can start productizing what it is that you have been able to deliver. And remember that if you're at the beginning of entrepreneurship, just focus on a small task that can get you 1% closer to your end goal. We also have a free course right below that you can click on and get access to. It's going to teach you how to build and launch your startup as a non-technical entrepreneur. Hope you enjoyed this video. See you in the next one.